Hello, everybody. Welcome to the American Magpies show. I am delighted to have, of course, Superfan Dan. You know him, but John O'Hare is on the show. You know, the greatest ever, the GOAT,
No,
is on.
Yeah.
no.
Yes, sir.
Uh, I'm just
How you
I'm
doing,
just
John?
happy to be amongst all the American Magpies.
Of
No.
course, man.
Yep.
This show is for
You
you,
see
man.
my
Yeah,
you see my title. I'm just a 12-year-old with a pension,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Coming out,
I spend it all on Newcastle.
that is
There
true,
you go.
man. I
Hey,
get.
hey, show us that ink, John.
Oh yeah,
Is that real? I saw
yeah,
that. Listen, I was looking on the picture, for you for the thumbnail, and I was like, you showing that. I was like, there's no way he got that done.
oh yeah.
That's got to be a Sharpie or something like that.
No. I was over with Dan last year, and I kept asking everybody where I could get a good tattoo, and a couple people we were with went and got tattoos, and
Wow.
I was like, it's going to have to be another time. And then I started thinking, well, I've never gotten a tattoo. What if I get one and I have some reaction, and here I am all the way over in the UK? It's like I better get this at home. So I told him I want it very basic. I want it very simple.
Newcastle
Newcastle
till I die.
till I die.
There you
Wow.
go.
Yeah, you can't get
So
any better than that, man.
yeah, that was all I did.
I
Um,
thought I only saw it in the flesh just briefly in one of the other in one of our other appearances. So I'm
Yeah,
glad I got to see it in real life. There you go.
yeah.
you will never get any grievance from any fan in the world after that. I mean, that is it. You know what I mean?
Well,
I saw one on a friend that we made in Atlanta. We met a pair of fans, and she just got a tattoo of a bottle of Newcastle Brown Ale on the inside
yeah,
of her bicep, and it looks fantastic. It's
that's
black and white. It's shaded so well. That's
yeah,
Bev.
that's Beverly from Chicago.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it sounds, John, it sounds like she's going to be in town when we're there for the West Ham game.
Yeah, I can't keep track of how many people are going to be there. Simon from San Diego, I heard he's going to be over.
Okay.
Jim from Nashville.
Yep.
Beverly, Jade is coming up. She lives in the UK, but she's going to be at the
Yep.
match.
Yep.
I've got two neighbors here in Oklahoma that are going, and they're counting on me to get tickets. And I said, "Well, if you have $450, I can get a ticket for you." But otherwise,
I was gonna ask you that actually. I thought if I wanted to go there and plan everything out, I mean, how do I get tickets? Just buy hospitality tickets?
well, that's about the only way. The hardest thing to do is, if you're going to go, Chris, you're going to plan it way ahead. You're going to buy airline tickets at a reasonable time so you
Right.
get the right price. Us international fans, we can't do that because the ballot for it comes open like a week or 2 weeks before the match. It's too late to get hotels and airlines and all
Right.
that lined up. And the first thing I like to do is get my ticket and then I build a trip around it,
Yeah.
But in this case, I've got too many friends and relatives going. But I promised Dan and Tara they've got first dibs, so they're in.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we're going to both games, and
Now, if somebody has like season tickets, can they give them to you?
yeah, 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 they can do that. And a lot of that happens. So that's normal. But there's so much that's not normal about the way we deal with tickets in the UK versus in the US. In the US, it's a free for all, and they don't care who gets the tickets. It's like you
Right.
buy it, it's yours. You pass it along, that's fine. You jack up the price, that's fine. And it's totally different over there. They try to control it, regulate it, and
When John invited me last May to go with him, and he called me. What was it, about 2 weeks ahead of time, 3 weeks ahead of time?
it wasn't very much time.
No, it wasn't a whole lot of time, and I immediately came upstairs to see my travel agent, and we got everything booked. But that was one ticket. We had one ticket,
Yeah.
and we went over there and we met John the night before. No, yeah, the night before the match, and
The metro
John was
station.
at the metro station at Strawberry at St. James's Place, the one underneath where the fan zone is going to be. That's where we met for the first time. I mean, we'd seen each other online, but we'd never, and we spoke on the phone, but we had never met in person. So we met at the metro stop. We then went to the Straub and had a couple of pints. Then we went back to, John walked us back to our hotel, and then he went back to his hotel. The next morning, John came over to our hotel and had breakfast with us, and he had gotten a second ticket. He had gone to the box office that morning, and sure enough, someone had not claimed a hospitality ticket that morning. So he got a second ticket, and then gave Tara and me, he gave my wife his ticket that he was going to use to go with me. So then John ended up going to a completely separate part of the stadium.
Yeah.
And my wife and I got to go together. And then we sat at the table with Jade and her wife. And then we got to be friends, and we had seen them earlier in the store, but they hadn't said anything. They just passed us by, and we waved at them. But then we got to sit with them that night at the game and or before the game. But then afterwards, we went to the Strawberry after the match, and celebrated. We'd just beaten Brighton 4-1, and we were talking with people, and we met David Kelly used to play for Newcastle back in the early 90s. And one guy, we were talking, saying we're in town for the next match, and one guy said, "So you're looking for a ticket?" And I said, "Yeah, we're looking for a ticket." And he said, he just went in his jacket and said, "I happen to have one spare ticket." And I paid him on the spot for the ticket, and it worked.
And,
so
wow.
And so I had one ticket for Dan. I didn't know he was bringing his wife, and then he brought his wife, and I'm really glad he did, because she's wonderful. She's a gamer, and meeting the two of them was just so much fun for me. But we had to struggle, because I am relentless in trying to get a ticket. I just want to get everybody inside the match, And so if they come, it's like, we got to go. We got to get an extra ticket. So we were shaking trees all over the place trying to find one, and luckily,
and I had
our guy Davey Boy came through.
and then I told you, Chris, the first time we talked, we spent our honeymoon there, and we have friends that we made on that honeymoon trip, and they happened to have a spare ticket. So my wife got to go and sit for the first half of the Leicester City match down with our friends from our honeymoon, and I sat up with Davey Boy's guys. And then at halftime, my wife and I switched. We're not no complaints, because both seats were in the Gallagate end, and we both got to experience each other's seats. So my seat with Davey Boy's guys, that was, I think, 6 or 8 rows from the top of the Gallagate, and my guys sat just above the first mezzanine of the Gallagate. So we got to see the game from 2 completely different angles, and it was, I mean, it doesn't matter. You're in the Gallagate. You're in the Gallagate. You're inside St. James's Park. You're at a match. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in that stadium. You are having a good time. So there you are.
Yeah.
So very much looking forward to going over in late March and early April. Over Easter weekend.
Me too. It's like an annual thing now.
Yeah.
We're going to try and make it that. Yeah.
You guys, well, I might join you guys next time you guys go. I was going to go this time, but what happens, Dan?
He's having a baby. Well, he's not. His wife is number 3.
Is this
and
is
he
this your
can't
first?
just be skedaddling around.
No, it's my third, man. Every time I want to go to Newcastle, she decides she wants to give birth. Can you imagine? Yeah, man. But eventually I will.
Planning for the 24-25 season starts now.
Yeah, just about. You're right.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I wish. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the point, but I wish it was more like the U.S. In the U.S., you just buy a ticket. I mean, it's pretty simple. But
they're at 52,000 people, 52,000 seats, and 2,000 are held for visiting fans. That's 50,000 people that already have tickets. There are no tickets that are season tickets are available. You can't go to the box office and happen upon one. It all depends on whether or not someone else has a ticket that's willing to give it to you. And that's why expanding St. James's Park, like we talked about last time, Chris, that's why expanding St. James's Park is important. It's why PIF's interest in doing so, or more to the point, Merdad and Amanda's desire to do everything possible, move heaven and earth in order to expand St. James's Park so that we don't have to consider another stadium or building a new stadium.
Hey,
so
Mason.
yeah, I'm looking at the comments as well. Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
Hey,
man, you guys are great. Look, I guess we can start talking about today. It's my goodness, man.
Were we trying to not talk about it for the longest time?
Yeah, we were trying to get a break from all that stuff. We're gonna have the match review on Monday, and man, I'm sort of kind of dreading it. But I don't know, man. What do you guys think of today's performance? There's a lot of mixed feelings, isn't it? Just
it's tough because just when you think we're turning a corner, it looks like nobody's motivated to play the first half. I saw a lot of just kind of lazy passes and just not really, no energy. It was, I don't know. It just bothered me. But then we came fighting back. But it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, or in the back of your mind. You're saying, what is going on with the team? Of course, I'm not going to get on social media and complain about this player or that player. There's enough of that out there. And these are the same lads that we cheer for, like the game before, or and so we got to stop that. But people are frustrated. You could see it on social media.
We had a fantastic game on Tuesday. The sad part about the game on Tuesday was we lost Isak to injury.
Absolutely.
It may be a minor injury, but we got to see Alan Gordon move to the middle, where he played so well for the England under-21s. And we saw Miggy Almiron come on, who had gotten a little bit of a rest in order for Jacob Murphy to make his first start. So then we got the three of them up front, and we finished the game well. Today, we started with Gordon in the middle, and Miggy and Jacob Murphy on the right and the left. And then Gordon didn't come out for the second half, and he was injured. Here it was. Keep in mind, it was still 2-2 at that time.
Yeah.
And you could tell there were tired legs out there, because it's, again, second game in a week. We've all been talking about this season has been an adjustment period for everyone. You go from playing one game a week last season in order to get into the Champions League. Then you get into the Champions League, and now you're playing 3 games in a week, because you got to play, every other weekend in the league. Then you're playing Champions League football in the midweek, and then the Carabao Cup, and now the FA Cup. So here's the guys that were worn out. We keep dancing around the injury list. We're finally getting some guys back. It was nice to see Harvey Barnes get back on. It was great to see Harvey Barnes score. But Callum Wilson wasn't up to speed. He was struggling. And I love Dan Burn. John knows I love Big Dan Burn.
Yeah.
But he got burnt. He got burnt a lot.
Yeah.
And we played better when Tino came on. So it's just hard. I think playing the same starting 11 week in, week out isn't doing anybody any good, but we haven't been able to do anything. And we talked about it last time. What does Lewis Hall have to do to get on the pitch?
Yeah, that's true.
If we're going to buy him in the summer for 30 million, wouldn't we like to see what we're getting for 30 million?
Yeah. Yeah, what's distressing is we did lose Isak and the last game, and then today Bruno got banged up and Anthony Gordon got banged up, and so we don't know what we're going to be looking at next week. I really don't know.
Lewis asked the question for all of us. Do you think it should have been a penalty to Luton or not? Without
contact was outside the box.
Yeah, he was. He
Yeah,
was.
that's what I think. You know, I
A
mean,
free kick, yes, it was not a PK.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe he considered that what happened outside the box wasn't a foul until he got into the box, which it's an easy escape for the referee. But I don't know, man. It was tough to watch, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, as well, you got to think, Burn, you shouldn't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it,
That was tough.
Burn got burnt. That's
Yeah.
But do you think?
it wasn't
I mean,
easy to watch.
how do you guys think that Eddie is struggling, uh,
I
parting
think
ways with his loyalty to certain players that worked for him before?
uh, that's a tough one. I think he really cares about everybody on the team, and so he thinks about how to motivate them, but how to not demotivate them. But I've said this on other shows. I would really like to see more rotation, more guys getting time, because the guys we throw in there, when Dubravka went in to fill in for Pope, it took him a couple games, to get used to things again and get in shape, and I mean just to be up to speed with playing a Premier League game, and I think it's for the guys that are on the bench, it's not doing them any favors if they don't get a
Not
little
building any
time here and there.
confidence.
Yeah, you ought to use all your five substitutions every game, whether it's 10 minutes or 30 minutes. I would like to see that happen more.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people who are criticizing Eddie for holding on to Paul Dummett, for holding on to Matt Ritchie, to holding on to some of the old guard. We know how important they are in the locker room, and when it was Champions League squad time, when we had to turn in our squads, there were percentages of players that you had to have were homegrown and everything, and then same in the league as well. But if Paul Dummett's only going to play in the Carabao Cup, or Matt Ritchie is only going to come on for stoppage time because you bring him on as a 89th minute substitute, they're taking up places on the bench. But at the same time, if all you've got to put on the bench are academy players in order to even fill out a bench because everybody's injured, it's hard. It's
Yeah.
like John said, we would love to see some rotation. We would love to be able to do like City does, like Liverpool does, like
Sure.
Spurs does, but we don't have the depth yet. We just don't.
Yeah.
And that's the criticism that this club continues to get, is being so mindful of FFP. But like we talked about last time, Chris, look at Everton. They've been punished for 10 points, and they've been punished again, and now Forest has been punished. Forest bought a whole new squad when they came up. They bought 15 new players.
Yeah.
That's got to be demoralizing for the guys that won the promotion.
So this is the transfer deadline. There was a rumor that somebody came for Dummett for $500K, and Eddie said no. I need him, but he doesn't play him. It's contradictory to that, because when Lewis Hall comes on, he comes on at the 85th, 90th minute. That's not enough.
Nope.
Yeah.
Some players take 10 minutes to get up to speed. You hate to say that, but especially when you're brought on as a substitute. But sometimes you don't have the luxury of bringing them on and having an instant reaction. I think Tino coming on today for Byrne after the PK, I think he warmed up fairly quickly, and we've all seen him. He's been starting at left back, and he was doing great. Hey, Ian, good to see you. But yeah, getting back to the PK, I thought it was a foul. I thought it should have been a free kick to Luton outside the box. I think the contact was outside the box.
Yeah.
It didn't look like a PK on television. I think worse than that was watching the Luton bench with one of their coaches freeze framing it on a laptop and then showing it to the manager. I think there were a lot of influences going on there. But for me, it wasn't a PK. It was a very soft PK given by the ref.
For sure. Yeah.
But I mean, we still didn't play good, man. I mean,
it wasn't our best game. Absolutely.
No, it seems like, maybe we're just trying to get through the rest of the year at this point. I hate to say that, but knowing full well that that's when a lot of player turnover will occur and we'll be able to spend. So, maybe everything's just kind of set. But I really can't understand the big drop off in performance that happens like it happened today. I just can't. I
From
can't
Tuesday.
figure it out.
I think they expelled a whole lot of energy on Tuesday, John, and we don't have the rotation. We simply don't.
Well,
I think
today,
losing Isak kicked us in the nuts, and then
Yeah.
today
Yeah.
losing Gordon at halftime. All of a sudden, what do you do when your front line is made of glass?
Yeah.
And then, but the good thing is that Harvey Barnes came on, and he looked sharp. I mean, he looked
Man,
sharp.
he looked good in the preseason, and it was fun to watch him the first couple games when he was in before he got injured. But yeah, I'm glad to see him back. Really glad to see that.
And there's another guy that could be forced into playing a central role, or we may be forced to start Miggy in the central role if Wilson's not ready. I'm at this moment right now, I am wary of the Forest game. I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mason was saying that he's not confident about that one. There he goes.
And Chris, you said, and you said last time that we made Chris Wood look like Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah.
and we can't afford to do that again. And now we're going to be facing Gio Reyna.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, it's going to be tough. We're going to kind of be limping into that one. I have no idea who's going to be ready for the match. I mean, I just don't. And, when you bring somebody like Barnes back and you're bringing Wilson back for getting injured maybe the second or third time this year, you don't know how close they are to, busting something again. And because you're leaning on them too hard, so you throw them in there and it's like Isak's not in. Get in there, Callum, and run like crazy the whole game. And, you're going to stretch something again. It's kind of distressing.
There were a couple of holding calls that didn't get called on Wilson that we should have gotten. The ref, you can sit here and bash the ref all day, but at the same time, I think the single word everybody uses every season is let's see some consistency. If you're going to give a yellow for a tackle to one team and then the exact same play happens 10 seconds later by the other team and you give nothing, well, what do you do with that?
It was very inconsistent. Yeah.
Now we're looking at the table. Still, well, we're 9th spot right now. We were 7th, but I mean, still basically where we were a few weeks ago, close to the 10th spot. The only thing that's changed is Chelsea going down below us, but I don't think they've played yet, to be honest. So I mean,
they play tomorrow.
They play tomorrow.
So we might end up being 10th again. I really thought that the Aston Villa game was going to be a turning point because the motivation. I think that it would have been motivating to beat Villa, and then you see a team like Luton, who is not the strongest team in the Premier League, to keep it respectful, and then you got Nottingham Forest, and then you got Bournemouth after that, and so if we were able to get all those points, that's 12 points that we could have. I mean, we don't know yet. We might get 9. Who knows? Out of those 4 games, but I mean, put us in a good position. Fighting for that 6th spot, European Football Conference League. I mean, but today's match is just it's just tough, man. It's demoralizing. Like John, you were saying, I just don't get. I don't get it. I mean, we had more players today. We had more players today in the bench. I mean, Callum Wilson came back. He didn't look confident at all.
Downright pedestrian, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then every match somebody gets hurt.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's crazy.
What is this? I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know, man. A lot of people say the way Eddie trains and the intensity and all that stuff. I don't know. We sacked the medical team not too long ago. A big up Sargi. She just subscribed to the show. We appreciate it. And I don't know how to feel. I'm very confused today, to be honest with you.
I'm of two minds now. We were in 10th. We got it to 7th after the Villa game on Tuesday. We're back down to 9th. Is the focus now trying to get up into the top 6, or do we use the back door and be hell bent in the FA Cup and just keep ourselves up near the top 6 for this season in the league?
Yeah.
It didn't work out for us this time. We have lots of adjustments to make. We tried to play Champions League football in the toughest group. We tried to play Champions League football for the first time in 20 years, and we got drawn in the group of death. And we did fairly well until we fell apart because of no one's talking about the injuries. You'll never hear Jason Tyndall or Eddie Howe complain about having a lengthy injury list or an injury list that has some long-term injuries on it. But let's not sugarcoat it. That's what's happened.
Yeah,
we haven't had the ability to rotate because we've got at one point we had 13 players out, 12 injured, and Tonali's banned.
That's rough. You can't. It's amazing that we're even holding it together. And then they go out and they beat Villa, and so then you get all this massive hope. We're back. We look just like last year. And then we have a game like this, which is more realistic. It was actually good to see that we fought back and tied the game. But yeah, I can't get rid of that taste in my mouth from what happened earlier. It's like, oh, we were just going through the motions, and midfield looked kind of weak, and so it was a tough day, especially for
Sean Longstaff.
I'm sorry,
Sean Longstaff looked up for it.
Oh, he scored twice. Yeah, but I will say this. Listen, I've been everybody, waits on me when Longstaff and Byrne perform well, and they're looking for me to rub it in my face. I have nothing against these guys. They're Geordies. I really like them. But when a player doesn't play well, you got to say it. This notion that you just gotta listen. Look, today Longstaff was good. He scored. You got to give him his respect. He was there, and those shots are not easy. And he scored back-to-back matches now. So
he did.
That's a positive thing. And but man, something is sour about this team right now. And we got to shake it off. I guess we got to keep going. I mean, you can't just give up. The FA Cup is very important. Imagine if we win the FA Cup. I mean, nobody remembers about any of this crap.
That would be, we'd look back on the season as just what a successful season. Our second one. Yeah. Our second one in a row,
Winning a trophy. Oh, my God. After how many? I wasn't even thought of when we won a trophy back in, when was it? What, 60-something?
69 was the Intertoto Cup, and that was not Intertoto Cup. What did they call that? It was before it was called the European Cup, before it was called the Champions League.
Before that, it was the 50s, I guess, that we had won.
We won some FA Cups.
Multiple. Oh, the FA. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, the FA Cups were in the 50s.
Yeah, we won some FA Cups.
3 in a row or something, right?
Yeah.
We were it, man. We lost finals against Liverpool, Man United. Right now,
I like Lewis's comment right there, Chris. That's also interesting.
Let me read it. Newcastle fans get screwed over with the kickoff time, 7:00 in the FA Cup, 7 p.m. in New Year's Day. Aston Villa away 8:15 kickoff. You don't see any other teams get these stupid kickoffs.
You saw the War Flags had a display that talked about that today. They were and they put out a statement to the Premier League. What are you doing? You're killing us.
Especially when you make the fans travel halfway across the country, and then their only choice is either driving through the night to get home in the wee hours, or if they came down via bus, they're forced to stay, or train, they're forced to stay overnight. Because there's the trains stop running.
And it's the same
early.
It's the same thing we were just talking about, trying to get international tickets. You can't plan for it, right? So you can't plan to get your tickets over here in the States, but they can't plan their travel when all of a sudden the TV time is changing the game. And so that all the people in the UK that want to go see Newcastle, they can't build a trip around a certain weekend when all of a sudden it's shifted to Sunday night or whatever, or Monday even. So yeah, it's been
Ferris
tough.
Cup. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, so
we're getting answers in the comments. Yep.
Intercity Ferris Cup. Yeah, 69, man. I wasn't my parents weren't even alive. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's important that we talk about ticketing as well. I mean, because we here in the United States, we don't get to deal with that dilemma that fans in England do. So I think it's good that we also, share the pain, I guess, and talk
Oh
about
yeah.
it,
Oh
because they do have to imagine traveling doing it. I mean, in the U.S., maybe it doesn't seem that big of a deal. Like I said, for me living here, I can drive 4 or 5 hours anywhere. It doesn't bother me. But if you're in the UK, everything is a lot smaller. It's a hassle.
yeah, it's tough. And what it does is it ruins your weekend schedule so that it's going to ruin your Monday at work, and not
Right.
everybody is capable of taking a day off. So it really hurts when that happens.
Big up Georgie C, man. Your 3 old-timer
Hey,
American
Jordies.
fans. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One thing about I think we might have been talking about behind and back in the backstage about certain fans not being welcoming. The vast majority, I would say 97%, are great people in the tune. So and they
Oh,
welcome anybody.
no
Like
doubt.
Never had a bad experience.
We
Yeah.
never had a bad experience. It's all online.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not,
the thing. But
we don't
I
have a
stayed I
problem.
stayed off Twitter today because I knew it was going to be toxic, and
Yeah.
but man, that's just crazy though. Like the amount of bullying that the people get,
Yeah.
players, and listen, I've criticized Byrne, but like when I criticize Byrne, I say why I think he didn't play good or whatnot,
Yeah.
and that's the way it should be, not F you and you suck and
Right.
just
Yeah.
a bunch of insults that really don't add up to nothing. It just
Yeah.
don't make sense.
I think when it comes to that situation, it's like adjustments need to be made. It's not
Yep.
sell them, don't ever play them again, get rid of them. It's like stop.
Simply because it can't happen. Can't get
Yeah.
rid of players.
Yeah.
Well,
Steven says,
and yep, yeah, I agree with him.
our midfield against Villa performed against Villa today. It didn't. Can't rely on 3 players to perform every game, and midfield is where we lost it. Even
Yeah.
Bruno
And
Guimaraes
everybody,
didn't play good. But you see what I'm saying? Like nobody's gonna come on Twitter and say Bruno Guimaraes needs to leave Newcastle because they know that the majority will go against them.
and they're going to beat up on a 17-year-old kid, an 18-year-old kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Lewis Smiley had a great game today in a poor midfield.
and John, when
he-
I was creeping up on John's Twitter, again to look for a picture for the thumbnail, nothing else. He posted a picture of Lewis Miley walking on the street, and nobody ever thought of him.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And that was just when, like probably last year.
Yeah.
So this is a kid. Imagine
I almost went over to him and said, because he was looking around, he was like, kind of like surprised that he was just walking out the front door and, everybody's waiting for somebody else. And I was like, going to walk over to him and say, hey, I know who you are, man.
Remember when we saw Maxi in his Lamborghini, John, out in front of the club? Yep.
Yeah. And we were talking then. We were like, I don't think he's going to be around, man. I just don't think he's going to be around. And sure enough, we sold him. But I miss the guy. I wish he could have fit in a little bit better to the scheme,
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. Somebody told me in private that he just wasn't. He's not for structure, and he just wanted to do what he wanted.
I'll never forget. I flew out to San Diego. I'd like to do it again. I flew out to San Diego to watch a game with those guys, the San Diego Mags, and Shade and Eddie are good friends. And it was the first time I went to a club, that wasn't like real close. And Maxi had a beautiful game because he was pulling everybody over and making great passes. It was the 3-3 tie with Man City. Oh my gosh. It was like early in the season. It was August, and which meant the weather was still great in San Diego. So you guys in the States, get out to San Diego and watch a match, okay? Because after you leave the match, there's the beach, whatever else you want. But yeah, Maxi played just a fantastic game, and I thought we were going to beat them, and then Man City came back and got the tie, but yeah, and Trippier had that goal, just a blazer over the wall, and scored one in that game too. It was just a fun time, good time.
I thought his goal today was also good. I thought Tripp scored a fantastic goal.
Yeah.
Trippier was the player that better performed, I think, in the whole game.
You know why it was so good? We saw about 3 other guys miss one right in that same corner. I was like,
and he hit it with the back of with the outside of his foot. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah,
and,
he just.
I
thought we were going to come back and win it. What was that?
Yeah, I did too. I felt positive, and I thought maybe with Wilson we'd get a poacher's goal in there. All we'd have to do is get some ball in there. We'd be able to get there, and it just didn't happen. I was saying, go ahead, John. Sorry,
we missed 2 or 3. At what's his name? Barnes almost got another one. He had a really good close-in shot. But
I was saying I like Mason's comment earlier was that he said that Luton played today like a team that wants to stay in the league.
Yeah, I wanted to touch that one. They played great. Go ahead, Dan.
When we saw that the other day as well on Tuesday, they beat. Who did they beat? Did they beat Forest 4-0?
Brighton 4-0. Yeah,
Brighton, who right now is in 7th.
Yeah, they've had a pretty good year.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, they play great. They were hungry. I think we were surprised that we saw a Luton team like that. I mean, I think we got used to seeing teams not perform well in St. James's Park and be shy and scared of the crowd and scared of the atmosphere. And Luton were really on it. They really didn't care. They were like, listen, close your ears and play. And so you play against somebody too. I don't know who said it. I think Charles Barkley said, or Charles Barkley said that Muhammad Ali said everybody's got to play until they get punched in the face. But I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yep. Everybody
has somebody.
Yeah.
And look what Villa did today at Sheffield United. They put 5 past them. I mean, Bramall Lane is a tough place to play, and we beat them 8-0 there, and Villa just beat them 5-0 there.
But there was a message on the fan group, which I think that I read that it was because they said, I mean, between Luton and Aston Villa, we would have probably taken the deal that we were going to get 4 points out of those 2 matches, and now, I mean, we kind of reversed it. I mean, we won against Villa, but that's not a bad way of looking at it. Look, sometimes you just gotta move on. I mean, it's crazy. We want to sit here and complain and listen. I'm all for it because I was complaining early and I was mad and upset. But I mean, now we got to look forward, and I guess that's not a bad of a deal. But we definitely got to improve, though.
It is the exact opposite of what I thought would happen.
Exactly.
But we'll take it. We'll take it. Yeah, it just was frustrating, and we're just getting that out. That's all. You shouldn't have called us today, Chris.
No, I again, like John's. Go ahead, Chris.
No, people want to see you guys' reactions, man. So you got to give people what they want.
Like John just said, the fight was there. When we went down 3-2, I was like, shit, here we go. We're just going to crumble now. Especially because it was a bogus PK. We're all just, you could see the guys. They're just, and then they took it twice because of supposed infringement on the box. So that's got to be a kick in the teeth as well. And then to give up such a soft 4th goal, I just loved seeing the fight. And as soon as Tripp scored, he went running into the net, grabbed the ball, and ran straight back to the middle spot and said, "All right, let's go. We're still in this."
Right.
There was still 20 minutes left in the match.
And you know what, Dan, that's a great point. When we're sort of getting a little lax out there on the field, I want to see at least one guy running around and doing that. Either Trips or Bruno. Bruno does it. He'll run to the side and, get the fans going again. I want to see that from at least 1 or 2 guys every time we get down in the dumps. Instead, what seems to happen is everybody gets a little down, and it brings everybody else down. It's like, catch yourself. Now's the time, forget the score. Just get out there and fight, and they did. You're right. They came back, and that was good. Barnes was class, and we got back in it. So we get a point. And after that,
check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.
And they did. Trips was. I mean, even when Trippier has played poorly, he takes it on the chin. He comes out and says he holds his hand up and says, "I played poorly."
Yeah.
Something was obviously wrong earlier in the season where he just it seemed like he couldn't do anything right.
Yeah.
But he's captain material, and that's why he wears the armband, and that's why you see him teach by example on the pitch. We're in this game. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, there was
in the last 10 minutes. I was surprised because we didn't keep pushing. I mean, Luton had the ball the majority of the time. It was a little bit surprising, but then again, we could have been tired and just kind of, let's say, look. And also, if you leave too many spaces, you don't want to lose this game. That would have been horrific.
I also think we suffered because there was a lot of second half stoppage, and then Luton started to time waste. And I think of the 10 minutes, I think 4 of them were wasted by either substitutes or the one guy who got injured. Then they came out and checked on him, and there was all. I thought that when that kind of stuff happened, you had to take him off to the touchline and check him out after that. I didn't think it was going to take all that on the pitch, and then none of that time got added on. The referee blew the whistle at 10 minutes. I was just like, no, there should be more time added on, buddy. So yeah, I think things went against us today. Taking a point, I think we would have snapped each other's hands off if we had said, would you take a draw over nothing? And I think everybody wants to.
Yeah.
So,
John, what do you think? What do you think about this season, man? How do you rate it? Where do you think we're going to end up?
Well, I think we'll end up somewhere between 6th and 10th. After Villa, I think 6 or 7 could have done it. Today, I feel like, between 6 and 10. I think we can still be very competitive. And it's good to hear that Pope might be back in the middle of March. So maybe Dan and I will get to see him again. I really do think a lot of people have discussed this, that we were playing out of our minds last year, and we pulled it off. And we did it with the same kind of things that we're doing this year, where we have a starting 11 and we don't mess with it unless somebody's down. But it's obvious we need more players. We need more, top flight guys that can rotate in. But I think if we do well in FA Cup and we finish between 6 and 10, we really ought to just say we're still building, After last year, our hopes were so high, and then we came out and beat Villa 5-1, 6-1 to start the season, right. And we just thought, this is our year, and boom, right after that, it was like a couple of wake up calls, and this has just played out to be a totally different season. If all of our guys had not been injured, we'd be between 3 and 7. We would be probably 3 and 6. Really. We lost some games we had no business losing, and just because mostly we didn't have enough firepower on the bench, and the main guy, the top 11, were injured. So I don't know. We're still building, and it's obvious. I think most of us have come to that realization. But, we still get disappointed because we know how capable we can be when we're playing our best. And that's 100%. That's why the fans get so disappointed. I'm one of them. I love all the guys. I know everybody, until I die. I know, people get down on Dan Burn. I love it when he has a great game. And I think he's very capable. You got to remember, he's played the whole year out of his position. He doesn't play out on the left side. He plays in the middle. So I mean, we just forget to just go, okay, it didn't work out today. Do I think we should make adjustments for that? Yeah, because everybody loves Tino, and Tino's got to get more time. And so I wouldn't say bench Dan Burn, but maybe he comes in late if we're in a good situation in a game, right? Just switch something up there or get Tino more time. But I think we can still have what I think is a reasonable season between 6 and 10.
I think if we lose another midfielder, let's say, Longstaff or Miley gets injured or something, if we're pressed to the bare bones, I think I could see Eddie going 3 at the back with Byrne, Botman, and HARE, or Botman, HARE, and Lascelles. I could see that, and then I could see Tino come on as a wing back, which is what he played in Southampton, albeit on the other side. So I'm just, I like John said, there has to be a little bit more flexibility. Eddie got hammered earlier in the season simply because they said he didn't have a plan B. When things go pear-shaped, nobody could. He didn't have another idea. If we were down 2-0 and we don't have any depth to bring players on, unless you're going to play the kids, and Miley has shown that he can play. Who was the kid that scored in Elliot Anderson is the one who had a phenomenal game in New Jersey.
Right.
Who was the one that we really liked in Philadelphia that came on late in the second half? I'm trying to remember.
Ashby,
it was a hot
maybe?
day. And, no, not Ashby. No, was it Parkinson?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Or Alex Murphy. Alex Murphy was the one.
Yeah.
Both of them came on late, and you have to be. You have to be fair. It was a hot day, and some of us had been drinking all day, so
yeah,
I can't remember too well. I have to go back and look at the fixture list, or the results. But there were a couple of those young kids that had really good games in preseason, and they've been able to make it onto the bench. They haven't come on into the matches, in order to get some meaningful minutes. And maybe it's because we haven't had the luxury of doing so.
Yeah.
If we were up 3-0, or if we were up 4-1 or something like that, then you bring on some of those kids in order to blood them. Like, sorry, Chris, but 25 years ago when we were able to bring on Shola Ameobi and those kind of guys. I mean, we had kids back then that they could bring on. I think Eddie's playing his cards close to his chest. I think he's wanting to do stuff. He knows that we have. I was listening to grumpy pundits on Sirius XM the other night, and everybody knows we've got money.
Yeah.
But we're right now it's being spent in other places in the club because we can't spend it on the pitch because of the FFP rules. Now, if this meeting that happens sometime in February where they're going to go back and look at the progressive spending or something like that, where they look at those rules and maybe some of those get softened, then maybe we start seeing some money being spent. We can't complain. They've spent $400 million in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
let me go with, before we finish the show, I want to do the fiery questions for John. I'm gonna put you on the ropes, John. You gotta dodge me, man.
Well, it depends on what you ask me. If you want to ask me about my family history and my connection to Newcastle, I can answer them. If you're talking about the history of Newcastle, there's so many years I didn't get to watch them. So
no, don't worry about that. This is just, you gotta choose.
You'll like these, John. You'll like these, John. You'll be all right.
You gotta choose. The first one, everybody knows. Some of these, I need to change it because people are watching and then they're gonna be ready. I don't want them to be ready. I want to catch them on the spot. Choose between going to, let's say your grandkids. You got grandkids?
I'm down here in Dallas. I have one.
Okay, there you go. So,
and I'm visiting him right now. You might hear him.
How old is he?
He's 9 months old.
Wow, this is great
He's just
because
starting to stand up.
you got to choose, man. Going to your grandson's first birthday party or going to a Champions League final that Newcastle is playing at in the same
I
day.
have an answer for you, and my family would never set up a birthday party that conflicted with Newcastle ever, ever.
So they know
So
better.
I would be at the Newcastle match because we would celebrate off days. We do that with holidays. We celebrate
Yeah.
Christmas whenever we want. So
Exactly.
we got that one whooped.
All right. Complete the phrase. Newcastle will win the Premier League in.
2027.
Everybody says that. Everybody
Really?
says 2027. Well, you
Really?
said 20. When did you say?
I said 2025.
2025. Yeah, but most people say Steve Ray said 2027, I believe. Yeah. And so I don't know why. I mean, but okay.
I don't know. It's going to take a while. I can't imagine we're going to turn it around next year, but we may be buying some talent this summer. So Dan might be right.
Yeah.
And if we don't play in Europe, we'll
Yeah.
have some more time. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Choose. Let me see. You got to see if you take this deal or not. Newcastle wins the FA Cup, haven't won a trophy yet. Wins the FA Cup. However, Sunderland will win the Premier League if you take that deal. If you want Newcastle to win an FA Cup, haven't won a trophy yet. Do you take that deal?
Yeah, I would take that deal.
Oh, John,
I would take that deal. And the reason is we got to get a cup. We got to get a cup. And if they took the Premier League, it would be like, oh, well, we're going to be fighting with them forever. So yeah, we would try and even that score. So yeah, I'd have to take it.
Who is your idol or a player that you love the most out of, or anybody, a coach, manager?
There's three really, but Sir Bobby Robson, and I'm very jealous of the fact that Dan and his wife got to meet him.
I said the same thing.
And he's no longer with us. That's one. Kevin Keegan, because he came here and revitalized things, and gave us hope. And then Alan Shearer, of course, because local lad decides to sign with Newcastle. I get emotional just thinking about that. Somebody like that says, I'm not going to sign any contract. I'm going to Newcastle. It's like, oh, that's beautiful. That's what it's all about.
Yes, sir. Current St. James's Park.
I would like to meet those other two before they're gone.
Before they keep the bucket up.
Yeah. Dan and I keep giving them opportunities to meet with us.
They don't go. Yeah.
We're
there. Choose between the current St. James's Park or a new St. James's Park in a different location.
I don't like the different location talk. That everybody has their favorite pub. They go to it and then they walk into the match. So it's got to be in that same area. I have a lot of thoughts about new stadium versus St. James's Park. I would love to see them find a way to squeeze in 10,000 more seats. I know there's restrictions on the east side, but to get 10,000 more seats, because everybody's talking about, oh, we're going gonzo big. We're going to be as big as Tottenham and some of these other places, and they want to build 75,000 seats. You have an off year here and there. It just doesn't look good to have a lot of empty seats. I think if you got 65,000 or 62,000 seats, you just keep it right where it is.
Yeah.
So I'd be for that.
All right. That's a question that's pretty divided. I mean, fans are just basically 50-50 from what I've discussed. So what's the greatest moment as a fan that you have experienced?
Well, I've had a lot of them since, especially since the takeover. There's been just a lot. I went to see Leicester City, and Bruno got a header with the 97th minute or something to win the game. It was incredible. And I was right there in the Gallagate end. That was big. Um, the first match right after the takeover, I was there, and I got to know a lot of people because I was on Sky Sports, and I said, I've got to go. We're going to go to this match. And Sue and I went over, and it was our first match at St. James. And it was the match that we lost to Tottenham, but we started out with Callum Wilson scoring a goal in the first 2 minutes. And it was a header, and it was a real bang, bang. And I thought, anything can happen now. We've got a lead. Yeah. Go ahead, Dan.
You got the momentous occasion. You got to see Steve Bruce's 1,000th match as a manager.
Yeah, I don't know that.
And his last match as Newcastle coach.
Yeah, we were kind of happy with that. In fact, I was texting people back home when they're gonna get rid of him now. They're gonna get. It was like, I think it was the next week they got rid of him.
Yeah.
But,
well, it's been a great show. It's been a great talk.
Wait, you got one more, Chris. You got one more. Can we squeeze in on one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Who are the three dinner guests? You have to pick one. One from history.
That's bad.
One from history. One from history. But no, Chris asked me it, and I answered.
No, that was Baz.
Was it Baz?
Yeah,
it was Baz.
But you can answer that one. I mean, I'm sure you have before.
Yeah, I kind of goofed up. He always wanted somebody that was
current,
no longer with us.
No longer with us. A current one and a retired one. Yep.
Yeah, that's Bobby Robson.
Yep.
So that's no longer with us. Current, I love Joe Linton. I would like to have him. And somebody said, well, there might be a language barrier and everything. And I said, well, he likes to party. I mean, he got the drink driving. So yeah, I'd have a good time with him. So Joe Linton, I like him. I really like him. And then who else? What was the third?
And a retired player.
Retired. Well, geez, I'd be like, hey, Alan, I need you to come over, but pick up Kevin too.
Yeah.
Fair play.
That is true.
I cheated these.
Yeah. It's been a great chat, fellas. I appreciate you for coming on, of course. Every week, every Saturday, the American Magpies show. I appreciate everybody coming on from South Africa, from the UK, from Australia. It's been amazing, of course. So I appreciate everybody's support. You fellas, if you want to stay just for a second after the matches, end the show real quick. And
Chris, keep going, man. You're building the show. Keep going on it, man.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck to you.
Everybody else, please, if you haven't already done so, smash the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you're new, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for everybody.